He came to the view expecting sympathy. He expected agreement. He expected understanding. What Prince Harry did not expect was joy Behar. By the time he stood up from the table, one thing was clear. This interview was never going to end politely. The studio looked calm, almost deceptively so. Warm lighting washed over the view's familiar round table. White mugs sat neatly in front of each host, steam barely visible. The backdrop showed a serene park scene, golden trees, an archway. Winter light filtered soft and forgiving. It was the kind of set designed to put guests at ease. Prince Harry sat upright in his chair, navy blazer perfectly tailored, white shirt open at the collar, no tie. His hands rested loosely on the table, fingers interlaced, posture controlled, relaxed, at least on the surface. Across from him, Joy Behar angled her body slightly toward him, cue cards resting near her mug. Her expression was neutral but alert, not hostile, not warm either. The look of someone who had been doing this long enough to know when a conversation might turn. The red light on the camera blinked on. Joy smiled for the audience. "Welcome back," she said smoothly. "Today, we're joined by Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex. Thank you for being here." Harry nodded once. "Thank you for having me." The exchange was polite, clean, predictable, for now. Joy folded her hands. "You've been living in the U.S. for several years now. California, 2 kids. A very different life from the one you grew up in." Harry smiled faintly. "Yes, very different." "And how does that feel?" Joy asked. "Being away from the institution, the expectations, the press?" A simple question, almost generous. Harry leaned back slightly, exhaling through his nose before answering. "I think people obsess over that contrast too much," he said. "It's not about where I am. It's about being free to live authentically." Joy nodded. "Of course, but for a lot of people watching, it's a dramatic shift, palace to privacy." Harry's smile tightened just a little. "Privacy is a funny word," he said. "People say it like we disappeared into the woods. We didn't. We just stopped playing a role." Joy raised an eyebrow. "A role?" "Yes," Harry replied. "A role that was written long before I had any say in it." The table went quiet for half a second longer than usual. Joy didn't interrupt. She didn't challenge him. She simply let the silence breathe. "Well," she said finally, "many would argue that role came with a lot of privilege." Harry's jaw flexed. "Privilege doesn't cancel trauma," he replied quickly, too quickly. "That's a lazy narrative." Joy didn't flinch. "I didn't say it did." Harry shifted in his chair. His hands separated now, one palm resting flat on the table, controlled but no longer casual. "I just think," he continued, "there's a tendency, especially in media like this, to simplify complex experiences." Joy smiled politely. "This is media like this," she said, "which is why we ask questions." A light chuckle rippled from the audience. Harry didn't laugh. Joy glanced at her notes. "You've spoken openly about the press, about feeling targeted. But some critics say that stepping away from royal life didn't reduce attention. It amplified it." Harry's eyes hardened. "Well, critics say a lot of things," he replied. "That doesn't make them insightful." Joy leaned back slightly, studying him. "True. But they also say you've built an entire public identity around criticizing the institution that made you famous." There it was. Not an attack, not an accusation, a framing. Harry inhaled, then smiled, thin, practiced. "That's a very American way of looking at it," he said. "Fame isn't something I asked for. I was born into it." Joy nodded. "So was William." The name landed heavily on the table. Harry's smile vanished. "I'm not here to compare myself to my brother," he said sharply. Joy tilted her head. "You talk about him a lot for someone who doesn't want comparisons." A murmur ran through the studio. Harry straightened, shoulders squaring. "With respect, Joy, I think that's a bit unfair." Joy met his gaze calmly. "Then explain it." Harry hesitated, just a fraction too long. "Well," he said, choosing his words carefully, "when one person is protected by the system and another is sacrificed by it, comparison becomes unavoidable." Joy's expression didn't change, but her tone did. "Sacrificed," she repeated. "That's a strong word." Harry nodded. "It's accurate. The table no longer felt warm. Joy picked up her mug, took a small sip, then set it down with care. "Prince Harry," she said evenly, "we're only 10 minutes in." Harry looked at her, clearly irritated. "And already," Joy continued, "you sound less like a guest and more like someone bracing for a fight." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Maybe that says more about the questions than my answers." Joy smiled, this time without warmth. "Or," she replied, "it says you came in expecting everyone at this table to agree with you." The audience went silent. Harry leaned back, crossing his arms. The polite beginning was over, and everyone in the room could feel it. The silence after Joy's last sentence didn't feel accidental. It felt deliberate. Whoopi Goldberg shifted slightly in her chair, sensing it. Sonny Hostin glanced down at her notes, then back up, eyes sharp. Sarah Haynes folded her hands together, already preparing to smooth things over if needed. Harry, however, didn't move. Arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes locked on Joy. Joy broke the pause first. "I'm not saying disagreement is a problem," she said calmly, "but you seem irritated that not. Everyone shares your framing." Harry exhaled through his nose. "What irritates me," he replied, "is being spoken to as if my life is a debate topic rather than a lived experience." Sonny leaned in slightly. "But when you come on a show like this," she said gently, "discussion is part of the deal." Harry turned toward her, but his reply was still aimed at Joy. "Discussion is fine," he said, "interrogation masked as curiosity is not." Joy raised an eyebrow. "Interrogation?" "Yes," Harry said, voice sharpening. "There's a tone, a pattern, and I recognize it." Sarah jumped in quickly. "I think what Joy is trying to do—" Joy lifted a hand, stopping her without looking away from Harry. "No, let me handle this," Joy said quietly. That alone shifted the room. Harry uncrossed his arms now, leaning forward slightly. "Handle what, exactly?" Joy met his gaze. "The assumption that any question you don't like is hostile." A few audience members murmured. Harry let out a short, humorless laugh. "That's not what I said." "It's what you imply," Joy replied. "Every time you bristle." Whoopi cleared her throat. "Okay, let's all take a breath," she said. "We're not here to attack anyone." Harry nodded toward Whoopi. "I appreciate that." Joy didn't nod. Whoopi continued. "Harry, people watching are trying to understand your perspective, not invalidate it." Harry's voice dropped. "Then maybe they should listen instead of challenging every sentence." Joy leaned back in her chair. "Listening doesn't mean agreeing." Harry's eyes flashed. "And challenging doesn't mean understanding." The tension thickened, not loud, not chaotic, but heavy. Sonny stepped in again. "Can I ask something?" she said carefully. "You've talked about trauma, about being harmed by systems. But many would argue that public accountability is different from personal attack." Harry turned toward her, visibly frustrated. "That distinction is convenient for people who've never lived under that kind of scrutiny." Joy interjected immediately. "You're assuming none of us have." Harry looked back at her. "You're assuming it's comparable." The audience gasped softly. Joy didn't raise her voice. She didn't even change her posture, but her smile disappeared completely. "You know," she said slowly, "I've interviewed politicians who've lost elections, actors whose careers collapsed, people who've buried children. None of them spoke to this table like it owed them reverence." Harry stiffened. "I'm not asking for reverence." "Then stop demanding it with your tone," Joy replied. Sarah leaned forward urgently. "Okay, let's reset." But Harry was already shaking his head. "This is exactly the problem," he said. "I come here to explain my experience, and instead I'm lectured on how I'm allowed to express it." Joy's voice hardened just a notch. "No, you're being reminded that expression doesn't excuse condescension." Harry laughed again, sharper this time. "Condescension? From me?" "Yes," Joy said plainly. "From you." The room went dead quiet. Even Whoopi didn't interrupt this time. Harry stared at Joy, incredulous. "That's rich." Joy folded her hands. "You speak as if everyone who questions you is uninformed or malicious. That's condescension." Harry leaned forward now, both palms flat on the table. "Because they are." A ripple of shock moved through the audience. Sonny whispered, "Harry, He didn't look at her. They reduce my family to headlines, he continued. They mock my wife. They minimize what we went through. And then they sit here pretending neutrality. Joy's eyes narrowed. We are not the tabloids. You benefit from the same ecosystem, Harry snapped. That did it. Joy leaned forward for the first time, voice low but unmistakably firm. Don't lump us in with the people you claim to despise, she said. We're sitting across from you. We invited you here, and you were talking down to us. Harry opened his mouth, then closed it. Whoopi finally stepped in, voice authoritative. Harry, you need to hear this. This table isn't against you. Harry turned to her. Then why does it feel like a trial? Joy answered before Whoopi could. Because you walked in defensive, she said. And when people are defensive, every question feels like an attack. Harry leaned back, crossing his arms again, tighter this time. So, this is my fault now, he said coldly. Joy nodded once. At least partly. The words hung in the air like a verdict. Sarah looked visibly uncomfortable. Sunny stared straight ahead. Whoopi rubbed her temple. Harry's voice dropped to a near whisper. You have no idea what you're talking about. Joy didn't blink. And you, she replied, have no idea how arrogant you sound. The audience erupted. Not applause, not boos, but a sharp collective intake of breath. Harry's face flushed. The polite interview had fully collapsed, and everyone knew it. The room didn't recover after Joy's last sentence. It couldn't. Harry sat frozen for a moment, arms crossed so tightly his shoulders looked locked in place. His jaw worked as if he were grinding something invisible between his teeth. For the first time since the interview began, he wasn't just irritated, he was angry. Whoopi leaned forward, palms open. Harry, she said carefully, nobody here is denying that you've been through a lot, but this conversation is sliding into something else. Harry didn't look at her. He was staring straight at Joy. You keep calling it arrogance, he said slowly, voice controlled but sharp. What you're really uncomfortable with is a man refusing to apologize for surviving. Joy tilted her head slightly. No, she replied. What I'm uncomfortable with is a guest who treats every pushback like betrayal. Sunny jumped in, trying to reframe. Harry, can I ask? No, Harry cut in, turning his head sharply toward her. Actually, you can't. The audience audibly reacted. Sunny blinked, stunned. Excuse me? I've answered enough questions, Harry said, and every single one gets twisted into another accusation. Joy leaned back in her chair. You're on The View, not a press conference. Harry scoffed. That's debatable. Whoopi's voice dropped, firm. All right, let's slow this down. Harry finally turned to her. With respect, Whoopi, slowing down just drags this out, Joy interjected immediately. Then maybe you shouldn't have come. That landed hard. Harry's eyes snapped back to her. You don't get to say that. Joy's tone stayed calm. I absolutely do. Sarah tried one last time to soften things. Maybe what Harry is saying is that Harry cut her off too. Please stop trying to translate me. I'm perfectly capable of speaking for myself. Sarah went silent, lips pressed together. The audience could feel it now. Harry wasn't reacting anymore. He was lashing out. Joy folded her hands unshaken. You know, I've been doing this a long time, she said, and when someone keeps telling everyone else to stop talking, it usually means they don't like hearing anything they can't control. Harry laughed, short, bitter. Control? Coming from this table? Yes, Joy said without hesitation. Because you walked in wanting a platform, not a conversation. Harry leaned forward suddenly. You invited me. And you accepted, Joy replied. That doesn't make this your living room. The crowd murmured again. Harry shook his head, voice rising. This is unbelievable. You pretend to care about mental health, about trauma, about empathy, and the moment someone doesn't perform gratitude correctly, you turn on them. Whoopi straightened. That's not fair. Harry turned to her, eyes blazing. Then stop letting her speak for all of you. Joy didn't even look at Whoopi. I'm speaking for myself, she said, and I'm saying this. You don't get to weaponize pain to shut down disagreement. The word weaponize cut deep. Harry's face reddened. You have no right. Joy leaned forward now, matching his intensity. I have every right. You came on this show. You brought the attitude, and now you're acting offended because someone isn't nodding along. Harry stood up halfway out of his chair before stopping himself. The movement alone sent a jolt through the studio. Whoopi raised her voice for the first time. "Harry, sit down." He hesitated, then sat back, but hard. "You know what the problem is?" Harry said coldly. "You don't actually want honesty. You want compliance." Joy's smile returned, but it was thin, sharp. "And you," she replied, "want sympathy without scrutiny." Silence. Pure, heavy silence. Sunny looked visibly uncomfortable. Sarah stared at the table. Even the producers behind the cameras weren't pretending anymore. Harry exhaled sharply. "I'm done being psychoanalyzed by daytime television." Joy didn't miss a beat. "Then you're on the wrong show." The words echoed. Harry's eyes flicked toward the exit, just for a second. The thought was there now. Leaving. Whoopi sensed it. "Harry, if you need a moment—" "No," he snapped. "What I need is respect." Joy nodded slowly. "Respect is mutual." Harry stood up fully this time. The audience gasped. He looked down at the table, then back at Joy. "This is exactly why people don't trust media anymore." Joy remained seated, calm, unwavering. "No," she said. "This is why people are tired of entitlement dressed up as enlightenment." That was the line, the one that broke whatever restraint Harry had left. His chair scraped loudly against the floor as he stepped back. "You know what?" he said, voice tight. "I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by someone who's made a career out of mocking people." Joy looked up at him, unafraid. "And I'm not going to sit here and let you belittle everyone in this room." Whoopi stood up halfway. "Okay, this is getting out of hand." Harry grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair. The cameras were still rolling. Everyone knew what was coming next. Either he would storm off, or someone would stop him. And the next move would change everything. The studio felt like it had stopped breathing. Harry stood beside his chair, jacket in hand, chest rising and falling too fast to hide. His eyes flicked from Joy to Whoopi, then briefly toward the audience. Millions of unseen faces watching every second of this unraveling moment. Joy Behar didn't move. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't interrupt. She waited. That silence alone said more than shouting ever could. "Harry," Whoopi said firmly, standing now, her tone unmistakably authoritative. "Sit down. We're going to reset this." Harry shook his head. "No, I'm not staying here to be disrespected." Joy finally spoke, her voice calm but razor sharp. "Then let's be clear about something," she said. "You weren't disrespected. You were challenged, and you didn't like it." Harry laughed bitterly. "This is a setup." "No," Joy replied. "This is accountability." The word hit him like a slap. "You don't get to decide how people respond to you," Joy continued. "You don't get to control the tone, the questions, or the room. And you definitely don't get to shut people down when they disagree." Harry pointed toward her. "You've been antagonizing me from the start," Joy nodded once. "Because you walked in defensive, condescending, and unwilling to listen. I met you where you were." Whoopi stepped forward. "Enough," she said. "This isn't helping anyone." Harry turned to her. "With respect, Whoopi, this show invited me, and I didn't come here to be attacked." Whoopi's expression hardened. "And we didn't invite you to insult the panel." The audience murmured loudly now. The tension was no longer subtle. It was public, undeniable. Sunny spoke carefully. "Harry, I think what Joy is saying—" "No," Harry snapped again. "I'm done being talked over." That was it. Whoopi straightened fully, voice dropping into something colder, official. "Harry," she said, "this is The View. We have conversations here. We don't silence each other." Harry stared at her. "Then maybe this isn't the place for me." Joy leaned forward slightly, eyes locked on his. "No," she said, "it isn't." The words landed heavy. For a moment, Harry looked stunned, as if he hadn't expected that answer. "You're asking me to leave?" he said. Joy didn't hesitate. "Yes." The studio went dead silent. Whoopi exhaled slowly, then nodded. "I agree." Gasps rippled through the audience. Harry's face flushed red. "You're kicking me off the show?" Whoopi met his gaze, calm and firm. "You've crossed a line. This conversation isn't productive anymore." Harry scoffed. "Unbelievable!" Joy folded her hands. "What's unbelievable is the way you've spoken to everyone at this table." He grabbed his jacket fully now. This is exactly why people don't trust media. Joy stood for the first time. And this, she said, is why people are tired of entitlement masquerading as truth. Harry opened his mouth to respond, but Whoopi cut in. "We're done," she said clearly. "Thank you for coming." Harry looked around once more, searching for an ally. There were none. Without another word, he turned and walked off set. The camera stayed on Joy and Whoopi as his footsteps echoed away. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then, Whoopi faced the camera. "Sometimes," she said calmly, "difficult conversations reveal more than answers ever could." Joy nodded beside her. Respect goes both ways. The screen faded as the audience sat stunned, fully aware they had just witnessed a moment that would be replayed, debated, and dissected for weeks. Harry hadn't just walked off the view, he'd been shown the door.